Before we are full on week 3 of the NFL preseason kicks tonight. Week 1 of the regular season kicks in 13 days. Vegas hosting San Fran at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight on the ESPN Unlimited. Number 1 pick Fernando Mendoza's preseason hasn't really been anything to write home about. Played the first half in its entirety last week. Completed 53% of his passes, 8 for 15, 86 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Preseason opener, a little better, 63% completion rate. Did have a touchdown with no interceptions. With that, we formally welcome you into NFL Live. Running a little 12 personnel today. Jeremy Fowler in studio, and then we have Jason McCourty, Chase Daniel here for the duration out wide. I'm Phil Murphy. Jeremy, let's stay local, start with you, and start with tonight. Fernando Mendoza with the Raiders. How much do we expect to see him in this game?
Phil, I'm told he should get a healthy run. It could look somewhat similar to last week where he played the first half. The ultimate number of snaps will be up to head coach Clint Kubiak, but he will play, and they want to see him build on the positives and the negatives from last week. The positives, they loved how he threw on third down. Crucial throws, third and long. He was able to deliver the football and get the chains moving. The negative there is they want to see him improve that interception where he threw it late over the middle. He can't do that. Some of the nuances of the game they want to see him improve upon, but they love where he's headed. Kirk Cousins remains entrenched as the starter, at least unofficially. They have not named him yet, but Mendoza could give a lasting impression here, put his mark on the preseason before we hit week 1.
Yeah, and it's a pretty manageable early schedule for the Raiders before things get very rocky midway through October. Let's go to our quarterback, Chase. Last time that we see Mendoza on the field before it actually counts, where do you want to see the rookie improve his game?
Look, I just think he needs to get comfortable within the offense. And we talk a lot about it. He played like 8 snaps overall in his entire career under center in college. I think he played 10 or 12 last week. So that's the biggest thing is, hey, what's being asked of you at the line of scrimmage? Let's just remember, though, and J-Mac understands this, vanilla game plans in preseason. The Raiders and Clint Kubiak aren't going to show anything out there, but you have to be able to run what the offense says to do. And look, I don't think at any point he can do anything tonight to prove that he's going to be the starter in week 1. And look, 8 of the last 10 quarterbacks, as you're seeing here, that's drafted number 1 overall, they all started week 1. So whatever you think Mendoza week he is playing, if you think it's week 10, it's probably week 5. If you think it's week 5, it's probably week 3. I say that because he's going to be ready. You can't tell me that a quarterback goes out there and if he's playing for the Raiders and they're 1-3, J-Mac, that in week 5, you don't think the fans are going to be clamoring for Fernando Mendoza? That's the one thing as a quarterback, you have to get game reps. Preseason matters, but you have to get game reps and game experience to feel really comfortable out there.
And I love what you said, Chase. When you say, what do you want to see from Mendoza? You talked about the vanilla game plans. Well, with a vanilla game plan, I want to see a smooth operation. The second play he got in a week ago was a false start. They were bringing the tight ends in motion. Half the offense knew that what snap count they were going on. The other half didn't. For Mendoza, take control when you get out there and have everybody moving in that same direction. The other part for me is start to speed up the decision making. I think that's a big difference. You talked about him being under center. He was in with the backup offensive lineman against the Texans. I would assume that it's going to be very similar this week. Hey, different situations present different opportunities for you. Make sure you're getting that ball out quick. If you have room to scramble, get up in the pocket. But just everything moving a little bit quicker, I think, in these vanilla game plans, not only for Kubiak on the offensive side of the ball, but also what he's seeing on the defensive side of the ball.
We know what lies ahead for Vegas in the AFC West. But again, to point out this schedule for the Raiders, they don't face a playoff team until week 5. Kansas City, a little bit of a technicality because we expect them to be in the mix. And then it's Patriots, Bills, Rams, layover against the Jets, and then Niners, Seahawks, Broncos in quick succession. That is
good luck.
Brutal, and that's about the time we might think Mendoza might get dropped in. Let's get to some top stories, Jeremy, on this Thursday, and let's start with some positive vibes and promising news out of Indy.
Let's do it. Alec Pierce, their star number 1 receiver that they paid this offseason, is back in the practice fold. He's been activated off the physically unable to perform list. It's been a long offseason for Pierce. Had an ankle issue that had to be surgically repaired. He had a PRP shot earlier in the offseason. But now he's good to go. He's out there running routes. They're taking it easy with him today, but he's got 2+ weeks to get ready for week 1. I'm told that has been his goal throughout, is to be ready for the very beginning of the season. Speaking of receivers, Mike Evans, he's been a little beat up in San Francisco at camp, in and out of the lineup with injuries. I'm told regardless, his plan has been to play week 1. Now he's missed some time with a quad. Now he's out a little bit this week with a groin. I'm told the groin is considered minor. So they're going to get on that plane for Australia. They are hoping that number 5 is there with them that remains the plan. We'll see how it goes. Next week should be able to practice. Then Josh Simmons. This one is tricky because their left tackle has been out with a back issue. It's been considered day-to-day, but I was told that he has been undergoing tests to make sure that it's not something of larger concern. So they should know more in the coming days. Right now, he is out of the lineup. He won't play in the preseason finale. They got 2+ weeks to sort out that left tackle spot. They have Jalen Moore, who's kind of like a swing guy. He's expected to start at right tackle this year. Will he have to move to left in the short term if Simmons is out?
Yeah, at least Moore's a veteran. But for Simmons, it was a 50-50 split in terms of games played last year. Started 8, missed 9. In games that he played, Kansas City averaged 6 more points per game and 100 more yards per game. Also tonight, a last preseason look at the Patriots after their run through the AFC to the Super Bowl. But the intrigue here, candidly, is with the opponent. The Browns have named Deshaun Watson their Week 1 QB over Shedeur Sanders, who went 3-4 as a starter last year as a rookie. Cleveland opens their regular season in Jacksonville. First-year head coach Todd Monken was asked this week why Shedeur wasn't the pick for QB1.
From the jump in the offseason when he showed some things that I really liked, the way he's wired, that's when we made the decision to give him more reps. That's when we decided to make it a competition for Shedeur and for us. That was the point of it all, to get where he's at today. Because early on, in my opinion, it was pretty obvious that Deshaun was ahead. His experience, right? He should be, right? There's no difference there. But we made that decision, and where he's at today is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, I mean, there are 230 million reasons why Deshaun Watson should be ahead. Jeremy, it's been a few days since Monken made this decision public. How are they feeling in Cleveland now that this move is out there?
Well, the staff feels good because they felt like they didn't overreact. They stuck to the script. Deshaun Watson was the heavy favorite back in the spring. I'm told Shedeur Sanders closed the gap in the spring and in camp, especially early on. But the last few weeks, Deshaun Watson steadied the ship a little bit. Coming out of that Thursday joint practice with Buffalo, it was clear Watson was the guy. He made several good throws that day, running with the first-team offense. So the Browns decided we're not going to let one bad day, that last Saturday that was pretty bad on the field and at the podium, affect what has been going on over the last 6 months. And they feel like Shedeur Sanders acquitted himself well enough to where they have to turn to him in, week 5, week 8, whenever that is. They feel comfortable that he could provide a spark. Deshaun's going to get the run, and they're hoping to run Deshaun. They feel like he's a better athlete, that they can use him in a dual threat role.
And this franchise just so starved to get this decision correct, J-Mac. Aside from that promising run by Baker, it's a question we've asked almost every year in Cleveland since, the 80s? J-Mac, did they get the QB decision right here?
Phil, I was a part of that, wondering and trying to figure out who the quarterback should be for the franchise in Cleveland. Listen, from the outside looking in, you watched the preseason games, and for me, I said, hey, Shedeur should be the guy because he's younger and there's more upside from what you've seen so far with this quarterback battle. But the more I listen to Todd Monken, you have to understand, I think, from a Cleveland Browns perspective, they've looked at this, and he said it, from the very beginning, they thought Deshaun Watson had a leg up. I think they're trying to play the long game here, and they see the veteran quarterback, knowing they have 2 games starting out on the road. Start Deshaun Watson, see what he can do within this offense. I think it may set Shedeur Sanders up for a very good opportunity when he does get inserted in the lineup at some point throughout the course of the season. He gets to see a veteran run this offense and see the things that he's doing correctly and the things that he's making mistakes on, and seeing if that can build off of him. Remember, Shedeur is still a late-round draft pick, and I think this speaks to volumes of potentially trying to develop him and not just throwing him out there. That's my positive spin on it. I got to do something, because when we look from the outside in, it's like Shedeur Sanders should be the guy. Or aren't we all watching it? So I don't know. That's the best I can do there.
I was listening to you. I'm like, you're putting such a positive spin on this thing. And look, I get it. I understand it. Deshaun Watson, he's been there. He's done it. But when you watch the film, J-Mac, like Deshaun Watson doesn't take chances. He's a dink and dunk type guy, accuracy, whatever. They don't take shots down the field. And so I'm going to say, no, they didn't get it right. I mean, I was appalled when I heard the press conference, among other things. And then right after that, bad of a performance. And I really disliked everything about Deshaun Watson going into that and what had happened. But I think this is, to spin it, like you'd said, J-Mac, this is the best case scenario for Shedeur. I think it was out of Monken's hands. I do think that there's no pressure on Shedeur to come in right away and have to win a bunch of games. Look, you can't go from Shedeur to Deshaun. The fan base have already booed. You can't do that. What you can do, and I think this is probably a reasoning from a 40,000-foot view up, you can go from Deshaun to Shedeur. And then if Shedeur comes in and plays and learns, like I was a backup quarterback, you're learning, you're watching, you're understanding how Deshaun does things. Maybe you do some of those things. Maybe you don't do some of those things. And so for me, I think it sets Shedeur up in the long term to be successful.
Jeremy, you've been entrenched in this exact topic for some time. Chase said you can go from Deshaun to Shedeur. What is the likelihood that we might see that, at least in the plans, to get a look at Shedeur Sanders in the regular season?
Well, the Browns have 2 games on the road. It's pretty clear that Deshaun Watson's more comfortable on the road than he is at home. So by week 3, is he prepared to get booed and to deal with all that is going to be the question. And if they're 0-2, can he handle that? Now, it's going to be a week-to-week proposition. The pressure cooker is crazy in the league, so you're going to get pressed. And I love the conversation that J-Mag and Chase were having, because I talked to somebody with the Browns when I was there the other day. Shedeur Sanders is like the three-point shooter. Deshaun Watson is like the distributing point guard. And that's the difference right now. So Shedeur's going to hunt those big plays. So if he does get in the game, he's going to try to stretch the field. It's probably going to be a little bit of a different offense. How long can Deshaun Watson hold it? Also, this week, you're going to see Dylan Gabriel, who's been sort of the odd man out. He's going to play in the preseason finale. Taylon Green, a rookie they really like. He's a late-round pick. Todd Monken says he's incredibly smart. He just can't get any reps because there are 4 quarterbacks. He will get some action in this game as well.
And to a point that Chase made a moment ago, Watson's been there, done that, but it's been a minute. Deshaun Watson's last 300-yard passing game, Week 17 of the 2020.
I think us getting back to it, you know, it's just Detroit versus Detroit. You know, the no joint practices. I just think we got a lot of good stuff done. You know, we got through full installs, man. We got to hit every situation multiple times, and so when you're able to do that, then you can really get pretty advanced with each other and test each other pretty good. Special teams is flying around. I think the competitiveness, you know, has been really good, man. And you know, and I like the talent that we have.
The Lions felt the brain drain last season, turnover at OC and DC, go from the NFC 1 seed to 9-8 and last in the NFC North. Since the NFL went to an 8-division format in 2002, 5 teams have gone from last place in their division to a Super Bowl berth. Last time was last year, the Patriots. The last team to go from worst to a Super Bowl win, the 2017 Eagles. Back here with Jeremy Fowler, Chase Daniel, and Jason McCourty. J-Mac, will come to you first. Fantasy managers love the skill position stars in Detroit, understandably. For you, what is the biggest question mark you have about this offense if they want to be back as the apex predators they were in 2024?
It's going to be on the interior of the offensive line. They lost Cade Mays. That was their free agent signing that they brought over to shore up the center position. It was going to help everything. Rutledge is in his second year. Tay Ratledge on the right side at guard. That was going to be a big step now, making that move. They have to shore that up. Last year, that was the issue. When it came to the pass, defenses started realizing, hey, if we want to attack Jared Goff and we want to make him uncomfortable, send pressure right up the middle and get him off of the spot. I love what Dan Campbell just talked about. This training camp, getting back to just knowing themselves. Forget about all the joint practices, the fights, and all of that other stuff. Focus on Detroit Lions football. And a lot of that has to do with new coordinator Drew Petzing, who comes over from the Arizona Cardinals. He had success a season ago. I know they had to throw the ball a lot because they were down points, but they were making plays. Jacoby Brissett threw the ball all over the field. Now Drew Petzing gets a top 10 quarterback in Jared Goff, and we talked about it. Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta at the tight end position. You have an all-pro, Pro Bowl type of player at every level of this offense.
Yeah, J-Mac, Drew Petzing in Arizona last year got the ball out to their number 2 receiver, who ended up being their number 1, Michael Wilson. That's why I looked at Jamison Williams. You mentioned him. The Lions feel like he's much more than a deep threat. He's improved his intermediate route running. So he's got 102 targets last year. I expect that to uptick in a major way in 2026. They still got to get Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball because that is Jared Goff's safety valve. Those two have insane chemistry. But Williams will probably be more of a focal point moving forward, is my expectation. So will Jahmyr Gibbs. He's the lead back now. He is the number 1. No more sharing carries. This guy had 39 rushing touchdowns in 3 years as essentially a 1B. Now he's the 1A. They're going to give him the ball a ton. It's going to be a lot of fun in Detroit. They have a lot of mouths to feed, although they could add another running back. Kareem Hunt, former rushing champion, was in for a visit this week. So we'll see if they add a running back behind Gibbs.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Look, the expectation for this offense should be a top 5 offense. I mean, it's everything every year. They're one of the best offensive skill groups, probably one of, if not the best offensive skill groups in all of football. Look, they finished 4th in points per game, 2nd in yards per play, 5th in yards per game. So on the outside, it looks, we're okay. Like, we're still scoring points. I could not agree more with what J-Max said about the interior of the offensive line. Look, they need to be better. Losing Frank Ragnow at the beginning of the season didn't help either. They didn't really have a really good center to figure it out, a plan behind that. And then number 2, for me, it's like, hey, figure out why you were so bad last year against top 10 defenses. Rewind to 2024. They were 5-0, averaging 35 points a game versus top 10 defenses. Last year, 1-3, only averaging 21 points. They were really bad on 3rd down. All this stuff matters. It's the situational awareness of this offense to go out there and to understand, hey, we weren't as good on 3rd down. We weren't as good running the football. We need to get back to what we were doing and saying, and we need to get back to being bullies. So I think this is what the Lions can improve on.
Well, and to your point about that O-line and, heck, going up against top defenses, the Lions 31st last season in pass block win rate. Only the Chargers, with their litany of injuries, were behind Detroit. They went from a 15-win team and a 1 seed, dropped to 9 wins last season. ESPN Analytics says, though, the Lions, the favorites to win the NFC North, not overwhelming, 38%, just ahead of the Packers at 33%. The defending division winners, the Bears, just 19%. Detroit looks for its 3rd division crown in the last 4 years after having won none in the previous 29. Chase, going to need a quick read. Throwback Thursday to your time at Mizzou. Chicago wins the division if what?
Defense can rank top 5 again in takeaways like they did last year. I think Luther Burden makes that jump to a legit number 1, number 2 receiver to fill in DJ Moore's takeaway. And then also, you can't just rely on comeback wins. Look, the Bears had 12 total wins last year. 7 of them were come from behind. I like that, but start faster from the jump.
J-Max, same question for you, different team. Green Bay wins the division if what?
Love wins, baby. Jordan Love play at an MVP type of level for these Green Bay Packers. No Micah Parsons to start the season. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Love's got us. Oh, no longer have Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks. Don't worry about it. Love's got it. Those receivers on the outside have to step up. Tucker Kraft, he's going to be back to norm towards they get to the middle of the season. It's going to be on Jordan Love. Step up into the spotlight, be an MVP type of player.
Yeah, leading face on Love Island. New on NFL Live, we got some tight end news in Green Bay. Jeremy, what's going on?
Yes, Jonnu Smith, veteran free agent tight end, signing a 1-year deal to the Packers, according to our Adam Schefter. This is a nice ad for a team that was looking for a number 2 receiver. Jonnu Smith can line up out wide. He can catch passes for you, but they got their number 1. That's Tucker Kraft, whom they hope to sign to an extension before week 1. He crushed his rehab. He looks great upon return. This is going to probably have to be a deal that reaches that $20 million threshold. The tight end market has not jumped that high yet. Then you got Leonard Williams, the big cat, with a new deal, 3 years, $90 million, back to Seattle. They've been working on this one for a while. They had 2 priorities this offseason. Devin Witherspoon, the corner. Leonard Williams, who was the number 1 D tackle, according to our ESPN rankings, league-wide, had a monster year. So they got 2 guys done. They couldn't keep everybody and run it back completely last year, lost some free agents, but they're keeping their key guys.
But for Leonard Williams, 22 sacks over the last 2 seasons and a second-team All-Pro a year ago. Head coach Mike McDaniel shared his thoughts on the extension.
I'm very excited. You know, we want great players, great people. We want Seahawks on our team, as many as we can possibly have. You want to be able to pay everybody as much as you possibly can. Obviously, there's limitations on these things, which is why it's so important for us to be able to keep as many Seahawks that we feel like can help us out in our building as we come down to like this portion of the year and really throughout the season. But when there's game-changing type guys like Leo, like Spoon, like Jax, we had the opportunity to lock them up for an extended period of time and make them foundational pieces of our team. That's got to fire you up. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I understand Coach McDonald being fired up, J-Mac. The Douglas fir, not the only green we're seeing in the Pacific Northwest. Seahawks getting paid. What do you make of how the Seahawks have handled this offseason?
You got to love it. And like Coach McDonald said, you obviously can't keep everybody, but they have done a good job of keeping their star players, their cornerstone type of players in-house, handing out extensions. And I think the beautiful thing about all of it, you look at those three players on the defensive side of the ball, they all feed off of each other. A guy like Derek Hall can get pressure on the quarterback when Leonard Williams is coming up the middle, supplying that inside presence on the quarterback. And now Witherspoon can win in the secondary because of those guys. I've just loved their offseason and the way Mike McDonald has approached everything. I got a chance to go to New England in 2018. That was after they had a Super Bowl appearance in 2017. And talking to those guys in the locker room, in April, they said, hey, expect the worst version of Bill Belichick because he knows how hard it is to get back. So he puts that much more pressure and intensity on us in practice. If you've gotten a chance to watch Hard Knocks, please watch it and enjoy it because you've seen this other side of Mike McDonald challenging his guys on the football field because he knows you've already lost a lot of time making it to the Super Bowl, and it's even harder to get back in that next season.
And we know how unforgiving it's going to be in the NFC West. ESPN Analytics likes the Rams over the Seahawks, but the 49ers not far behind. Still ahead on NFL between SoFi roommates, Rams and Chargers. It's a new look for the Bolts on offense with Mike McDaniel in charge. Expectation is that he will mesh well with Justin Herbert. In McDaniel's 4 years in Miami, the Dolphins used pre-snap motion at the second highest rate last season among 26 QBs with at least 10 starts. Nobody had a better QBR while using pre-snap motion than Herbert, but the Chargers ranked just 19th in their frequency of pre-snap motion. With Chase, J-Bone, and J-Mac, we are back here on NFL Live. J-Mac, start with you. The honeymoon phase hasn't even yet officially started in LA, but how do you see the McDaniel-Herbert marriage working out?
With McDaniel, I don't know if the honeymoon phase ever really ends. It just always seems like it's blissful there. I'm excited about it. I think what McDaniel specializes, getting the quarterback to understand how to get the ball out quick. And you mentioned the motions and all of that in the pre-snap. I look at a fullback like Alec Ingold, bringing him over, and Charlie Kohler, the tight end from Baltimore. Those aren't household names that the average fan is going to know, but that enables him to run his offense, especially get the run game going. Omari Hampton being able to run behind Ingold as a fullback who's paved the way for 4 different 1,000-yard rushers. I think that's going to help Justin Herbert the most and enable him to do some special things on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, look, I think Mike McDaniel and Justin Herbert are match made in heaven. Look, I was with Justin for 2 years in the room. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks I've ever been around, including Drew Brees. So the pre-snap motion, that puts a lot of emphasis on the quarterback to get the guys lined up in the right situation at the right time. Hey, you got to do this. There's a lot of 2 and 3 different checks in that system. That's great. Play action is going to be awesome. They're going to get the football out of Justin Herbert's hands, but can they run the football? That's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Like, get in these big personnel groups, 22, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 13 personnel, 3 tight ends, all this stuff. Let Justin Herbert get under center and marry that up with the run game on these play action shots. I really do believe that this could be a top 5 offense in the NFL. They have the best tackle tandem in the NFL with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. But the whole thing around Justin Herbert, his whole career, can you play well enough? Can you stay healthy enough to make a deep run and finally get that first playoff win?
Chase, a huge part of that is going to be the offensive line because we know the Chargers have toys. They got the quarterback. They got the guy in Mike McDaniel to scheme him up. Can that O-line hold up? We had New England's Patriots players in his lap, in Herbert's lap in that playoff game. It was ugly. Center, they had big plans for Tyler Biadasz. He's out for an extended period of time. Can rookie Jake Slaughter out of Florida handle that front as the center? They feel like he's an incredibly smart player, but he's going to have to expedite that learning curve in a hurry. So I'm watching the O-line where they have a new few pieces. Can they get it done? If Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are at tackle, they should be just fine. And Chase mentioned running the ball. They got 3 backs they really like, including Keaton Mitchell. Watch for him not only as a running back, but as a receiver. They're going to be moving him all over the field as McDaniel's next elite speed option.
And it's been the better part of a half-decade they've been investing in the O-line, but the issue's been health. Rashawn Slater missed all of last season. Joe Alt missed 11 games. Just got to stay on the field. New on NFL Live, it's the Abe Simpson exits bar meme. Adam Schefter has a trade. Tutu Atwell, who signed with the Dolphins from the Rams in March, has been traded back to L.A. in exchange for running back Jarquez Hunter. Hunter appeared in 5 games for LA last season. He was a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft. Atwell's been with the Rams for 5 years prior to his 5-month layover in Miami. Back to some top stories with Jeremy. 'Tis the preseason. Let's start with the latest on Christian Gonzalez's contract.
Feel a lot of quarterback action around the league with some money that's not being spent because Christian Gonzalez and the New England Patriots, I'm told, have not made significant progress on a contract extension, despite the market being set by Devin Witherspoon. Seattle got a new deal, 4 years, $132 million. Gonzalez is going to need to surpass that. He is a top-level corner. So I've joked with a few league executives who bring up to me like, hey, can we trade for Christian Gonzalez? They can't get a deal done. We'd be glad to take him.
Yeah.
They're not going to trade him, but they got to get something done in the next few weeks. Joey Porter. Now, this one's even probably worse of an impasse between the team and the player. No momentum here. And I was told that Porter Jr. has been under the impression that the Steelers would like him to play out the final year of his deal. So something has to give. He is not in the lineup. He's been away from the team. He's got a back injury listed as a back. Can they get him back on the field, and can they make any sort of progress, even make an offer to an extension? And then you got a huge topic this week at the players trying to get back from the college football to the NFL, vice versa. Where are they going? Sean McVay said this week that it's like I took a gummy. That's how confusing all this is. So right now, players who go back to college will be deemed ineligible for NFL play that season. They can declare for that draft the next year. And so teams are feeling the pressure on this. They feel like they're going to be watching this in April and early May when they sign undrafted free agents next year to see who's actually wanting to stick around, who has moved on from college. But we know that NIL money, the toothpaste is out of the tube. That money's not going anywhere. These players will be tempted.
And Chase, you have a unique perspective on this. You cover both the NFL and college football for us on Thursday nights, prime time on ESPN every week. What do you make of all of this?
I mean, it's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I was literally riding in the car to coach my kids in flag football when this news dropped. And my wife was like, have you seen this? I'm like, there's no way. I didn't believe it was happening. Look, the world of college football is so convoluted right now in terms of the agents and the players and the NIL market. Like, it's just the Wild West. And if you were to do this, you would be allowing NFL guys to come back. Look, I'm glad the Big Ten and the SEC and other conferences followed suit on changing what the rules could be. But still, at the end of the day, it all comes down to college football. If you want to fix college football, here's my one thing. You need a CBA. I know J-Mac was on the NFL Players Association. I was on the NFLPA and a voting rep for 10 years. A collective bargaining agreement. Set rules to actually hold people accountable in college football. Everyone's trying to get one over on everyone. Until that happens, this will not be fixed. It was the most ludicrous thing I'd ever seen.
And the vote, the SEC passing the rules to prevent this, was unanimous, 15-0. 16th team LSU abstained from voting earlier this week. How let receivers run 6.5 yards after completion per catch, most in the NFL. Chase Daniel, do you expect more of the same, these functional long handoffs from Rodgers and co.?
Absolutely. Look, it's part of who they are as an offense. I'd love to see them get under center a little bit more. They can't just line up in static formations under center and just throw the football. Here's what I do love, though. I'm sort of bullish on the Pittsburgh Steelers. DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, Jeremy Bernard, Alabama. I do think they're going to get these guys balls in space. But the biggest thing for McCarthy and Rodgers, can you run the ball enough to create one-on-one mismatches on the outside? They only ran the ball 37% of the time in Mike McCarthy's last year in Dallas. They're going to have to do it more this year.
Got a trend in the Bay Area. No stats on substations, I hope. But San Francisco did battle injury problems all last season. Really felt the impact defensively. Niners ranked last in sack percentage, 20th or worst in yards allowed and defensive efficiency. In the previous 6 seasons, they led the NFL in yards per game and yards per play allowed and were top 10 defense really across the board. J-Mac, does the downward trend continue for the Niners defense?
No, you see that guy on your stream, Mr. Nick Bosa, he will be back and be healthy. Then there's somebody aligning behind him and Fred Warner, and he will be back healthy. Warner only played in 6 games a year ago, and Bosa got hurt in week 3 and didn't play the remainder of the season. When you lose 2 All-Pros on one defense, of course the numbers are going to drop. They're going to be back out this year. Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator, I expect that trend to end and start to inch his way back up to the top.
Well, the trend in Western New York for the last few years has been 12-plus wins behind MVP-caliber QB play and then mid-January heartbreak. Josh Allen's made it look easy to find the end zone, scored at least 12 rushing touchdowns each of the last 3 seasons. Over the last quarter century, only 4 players have done that, 4 seasons in a row, all running backs. Derrick Henry enters the season on a 4-season streak. Allen would be the first QB with 4 straight seasons with at least 12 rushing tuds. Jeremy Fowler, what should we expect from Allen this season with the now former OC Joe Brady as a head coach?
Yeah, Buffalo wants the synergy between Joe Brady and Josh Allen to continue, because a big reason why Brady got this job, or at least part of it, is how he's maximized Josh Allen, who is scoring a rushing touchdown about every 8 attempts right now, which is a crazy number, even though his rushing attempts has gone down per year to about 6 per game, which it used to be closer to 8. He's throwing less interceptions, just 16 of them over the last 2 years. So all that body work really helped Joe Brady's momentum coming into this year. I caught Brady at that joint practice versus the Browns last week. He said he just wants Josh to continue to be who he is. He has more and more responsibility to navigate the offense and just make good decisions. He's improved in that area. They want that to continue.
J-Mac?
And what I love about when you talk about Josh Allen in this offense, Joe Brady, how much can they get Dalton Kincaid involved even more? He was on the field for just about 30%, 37% of the plays a year ago. And the majority of the time when he's on the field, they're throwing the football and he's running around. How can they continue to design things to get him in space and get him the football? Love the addition of DJ Moore. How can that open up the middle of the field? When they first drafted Kincaid, that's all we talked about, attacking the seams. He became a red zone target a year ago, but he also missed 5 games. Can he stay healthy, stay on the field, and become a prime target for Josh Allen to open up that offense in the middle of the field, especially deep down in that area?
And milestone watch for Allen. He has 299 combined passing and rushing touchdowns through his first 8 seasons. No player has ever hit 300 through his first 9 seasons. Allen could hit that by halftime week 1 in Houston. New on NFL Live, quarterback play in the Windy City. Caleb Williams sharing his thoughts on Ben Johnson entering their year 2 together.
I think Ben's allowing us to be able to, like today, I got angry in the film. Ben's like, calm down. Typically it's been Ben, last year. And I think he's allowing us players to be able to step up. And I think I said this last year or the year before, maybe early this year, is that players, you win championships, when you're a player-led team. And so I think coach is trying to allow us to do that, and he steps in whenever he needs to, because that's his position, and he has the right to do so. And so, but I will say he is allowing us to step up as players to lead us.
Chase, you played that position in that city. What do you make of Caleb Williams talking about the freedom given to him by Ben Johnson?
Well, the first thing I love hearing is that Ben Johnson set the culture from year 1. And now in year 2 of Ben Johnson, they have a quarterback talking about leadership and about player-led accountability. There's a players committee. All the teams that I've ever been on have this players committee, and they have a committee meeting with Ben Johnson or the head coach. And what that gets is it allows Ben Johnson to talk to the leaders, but then the leaders then disperse it to the rest of the group. The best teams I've ever been on are when you can police your own team. So I love what he's saying. It just looks like a lot of mental growth from Caleb Williams. Look, last year, didn't throw the ball well enough in early games. It was like comeback kid. It was like the cardiac kids. It was all this stuff. But year 2 in Ben Johnson specifically, he's going to understand, hey, a bad play is a throw. It's a good play is not a throwaway. Like all these little things that he's learning from the offense, it's really, really good to see. They're going to have the skill makers and the playmakers to make noise in that division.
And you understand the optimism, the strides that franchise made year over year, year 1 to 2 of Caleb Williams. In Tennessee, they were a story. According to Wisconsin court records, Packers running back Josh Jacobs has been formally charged stemming from his May arrest. Jacobs was originally booked on 5 charges, including felony strangulation, but those charges have since been reduced by the Brown County DA to misdemeanor battery and misdemeanor criminal damage to property. Joint practice today, Bears and Titans. New on NFL Live, after practice, Caleb Williams asked about advice he'd give to Cam Ward.
And he's been an awesome offensive coordinator and things like that, and he's been in different places with different quarterbacks. So he has he has a good track record with quarterbacks and things like that, and some quarterbacks that he's been with. And so just believing and trusting in him and what he's coaching you and teaching you, and then I think just being able to go out there and execute. And I think we have some similarities in our game and things like that, of being able to make the big plays and things like that, and just being able to keep consistently making the small plays.
But I could trust him from day one because he immediately took my my knowledge of the game, of what I like to run, what I was comfortable with running, and he immediately implemented in the offense. And so that showed me right there that he's willing to at least listen to me. But he knows that, who he has as a quarterback. He knows I trust him and he trusts me.
Robert Saleh, Brian Dable looking for a little more to Cam Ward. It was a tough start, lost 11 of his first 12 games, just 7 touchdowns to 6 picks, but then found his footing, did Cam Ward, over his last 5 games, 2 of them Titans wins. Ward threw 8 touchdowns to just 1 interception, 4th best touchdown to interception ratio from week 14 on, and he cut his sack rate in half. Credit the big fellas up front with that last stat, Chase Daniel. You are an unashamed film junkie, so what does the tape say from Ward's first 2 preseason games this year?
Yeah, I went back and watched every Cam Ward snap from the first 2 preseason games, and I came away with one word, and we got 3 plays to show you. It's vision. He's just not trusting the vision and the play unfolding itself. A lot of these happen within the first 15 in script. Here we go, under center. I love this. A little short motion by the Z receiver. It's a route concept that's really simple. It's 4 strong. It's a deep corner. It's a shallow corner, and it's a flat route. J-Back knows all about it. Step up in the pocket for no reason. You got a good pocket. Stay settled. He's wide open, guys. He's wide open. Just throw that thing. This is play 2 of the San Francisco game. Instead, it's a throwaway run, almost a sack. And they've been running a lot of this. RPO. It's a simple inside zone with your tight end coming back. All right. It's a 6-man box, J-Mac. You need to see vision on that safety, but it's a 6-man box. You have 6 blockers. It's a walk-in touchdown. Instead, he throws an out route to the boundary versus a too high shell look. In the 3rd and final play, just thinking way too much. It is man-to-man. There are 6 defenders on the line of free safety high. You have 6 guys to block. Cam Ward sees it as cover 0, which means he feels like he has one more blitzer. He comes in, thinking too much, max protection. I understand it. And then the throw here, to me, inside fade, there's no reason this ball should be in the air for 2.4 seconds. So it's the process of overthinking, but also not really having the vision. Look, it is preseason. I understand it. But you would like him to look a little bit sharper in these preseason games, but the vision is not quite there yet.
And Chase, that's just a good example of all the plays and areas that he can work on. And I would also say to everybody, pump your brakes. Like, not only Cam Ward learning a new offense,
no
but
doubt.
everyone else. And I look at that last preseason game against Seattle, there were plays where he starts that first drive and he has an opportunity to hit Carnell Tate. He throws a really good ball, doesn't happen. But then there's plays like this, where these are the ones that you just cannot have. But this was one. Catch the ball right there. Now we're looking at it a little bit differently. Chase, you just showed us. If Io Maynard stops and goes back into the DB, it's a pass interference, and now they get to move the ball down the field. And then this one by Gunnar Helm just not getting his foot down. So obviously, there are a ton of things that Cam Ward has to continue to improve on. But there were glimpses that I saw where he's making some plays that allows other people to step up. So, hey, just remember, not only he's learning a new offense, but also guys like Tony Pollard and the rest of that offense are all learning what Brian Dable wants.
Yeah, J-Mac, the Titans feel like once they work out the kinks in the preseason and they get to week 1, they're going to have the offensive firepower at receiver to finally help Cam Ward. He did not have that last year. They believe Carnell Tate is a dude. I know he hasn't put up the big preseason numbers, but since the spring, he's been making plays in practice. He and Cam Ward seem to have a chemistry. They got Wan'Dale Robinson, so the firepower is there. They want Cam Ward to improve on, taking the layups when they're there, improving his footwork. Some of those things, when it all comes together, he'll have the weapons at his disposal.
And we know that Wan'Dale Robinson knows that Brian Dable system, and obviously what Carnell Tate did at Ohio State was tremendous. The Titans' top receiver last year had just 515 receiving yards. Only the Jets' number 1 receiver had fewer in the entire NFL. And that's not good company you want to keep. 4 NFL games tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh edition of NFL Live, recapping that and any news that might pop up along the way. Jeremy Fowler, Chase Daniel, Jason McCourty. I'm Phil Murphy. Thanks for hanging.